intention to reflect on the wellness practices that have.
One glass of wine. Sorry, folks. We are very, very intoxicated. We're off the rails right now.
We're here to reflect on the wellness practices that have changed the game for each of us. And then hopefully, if we don't go on too many tangents, we'll also talk about the wellness practices that are basically trends going on that we cannot get behind. It's not for me. Can't do it. So
It's not about it.
cheers me. Cheers to wellness.
Cheers to wellness and learning and growing. And maybe one of these ones we can't get behind, we'll soon change our minds on. Probably not, but
Wellness that works for us.
yeah. Cheers to wellness that works for us. Cancel everything I just said. Beautiful.
Okay, wellness practice that changed your life. Do you want to go first?
Do you want me to? Or do you want to lead the way? I've got a couple options. I'm sure you have several more written down. So if you want to start knocking a couple out, please go ahead.
Okay, let me do a quick and easy one.
Go for it.
Wellness practice that changed my life. Mouth tape. Did you know I was going to say that?
Well, if you asked me on a poll, I probably could have guessed that one. But
Do you know everyone's talking about mouth tape now? So
it's a sponsor of the UFC.
it is a big deal. I've been mouth taping for a year now, and it has made me never snore again, never drool again. Also, I'm personally unfortunate to have been a mouth breather probably most of my life.
I call bad drivers mouth breathers.
Because of that. No, it's so crazy because I always heard that term. It's like an insult of people saying
it is an insult.
Mouth breather, but
along with donkey, it's an
but
insult.
I always took it as that, just like a thing people say to insult people. But I never thought to be like, do I breathe through my mouth? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And I did because I had braces 3 times, headgear as a kid.
Quit bragging.
My teeth are still so messed up, my jaw. Every time I go to the dentist like asks me to bite down, and they're like, no, bite down normal.
Oh yeah, they're like trying to tell you to restructure your face or something. They
say that I have to get reconstructive jaw surgery.
Nope.
And you know why? It's because I've been breathing through my mouth in my sleep my whole life.
Yeah, it's not because your parents are second cousins or something goofy like that. It's
oh my god.
I'm just saying, like,
no, it's
not because you have bad genes. It's not because like your parents did anything wrong. They didn't feed you rocks as a child or something.
They didn't shut my mouth when I was
That's
sleeping
what they should have done.
as a baby. That's what I'm going to do with my kids. My parents.
That's all I'm getting at. I'm not trying to go off the rails here.
I talked to my parents about this, and I told them, you should have shut my mouth. You should have taped my mouth. They know now. They didn't know. No one knew about this. I only just found out a year ago. Yeah. So it's just for fun. But I told them that when I have kids, I'm going to be closing their mouth when they're babies every time they sleep. And then I said, if they happen to sleep with their mouth open when they're a toddler, I'm going to tape their mouth shut. And my parents were like, you're going to get CPS called on you. But I don't care. It's important. You won't need braces. Yeah. And also the biggest deal is it changes. The reason why it's a wellness practice, not just a beauty thing, is because you sleep a million times better. Yeah. I've never slept better than when I started taping my mouth. Honestly, in the past year, I never have trouble sleeping ever. I wake up feeling rested. And when you sleep well, you feel better in all areas of life.
Well, that's the thing about it is it does, there's many benefits to it, but a lot of them being it does help over the course of your life, restructure your jaw, or at least stay on course for how your jaw should be structured or how your face should be structured. Because believe it or not, how you're breathing does affect.
It changes the way you look. You actually look prettier if you breathe through your nose.
That's what I've heard. But
and you are healthier because the number one, actually don't quote me on this, but I heard the number one cause of death is sleep apnea. And basically if you have sleep apnea, you're basically on your deathbed. And people who have sleep apnea cannot breathe through their nose. That's the main thing.
I don't have a podcast producer, so I can't ask him to Google it right now. But
nose breathing is like the healthiest way to breathe, and it honestly is a health hack that changes everything. And while you're sleeping, you don't have control. So now as I walk throughout my day, I like consciously I'm like, close your mouth, breathe through your nose, and I can do that. And I do that all day. But when you're sleeping, if you've been trained your whole life and to not think about it, then you like, I will wake up with my mouth open still. I thought like a couple months ago, I was like, I bet you now I'm trained because I've been taping my mouth for so long. So I tried it like to not mouth tape, and I sure enough woke up with my mouth open, like full on wide open. So ugly.
Well, I mean, if you've been doing it for 20 plus years, it's a natural thing. If you've been doing it since you were 2 years old, of course. But I mean, it's like, like we've all heard that like the Egyptians, whatever it was, 2,000 years ago or somewhere around then. Kodiak, you have somewhere to be? The other corner. Okay. No, you remember how like we've all seen drawings and cave drawings. We all learned about it in school. Like the Egyptians used to shape their kids' heads because like, depending on whatever, I don't know if you shaped it to be 1.5 feet taller than the rest of them, it meant certain things. And like the pharaohs are like known for like when they found their tombs or whatever, and they've recovered their bodies, they've got just heads that are shaped absurd compared to like nowadays. Yeah. And it just goes to show that like the small things, it wasn't like their parents were hitting them with hammers to reshape their head. It was just like little coaxing it in the right direction. You can do all kinds of wild things. So if like from a young age, you're trained to breathe through your nose, not through your mouth, especially when you're sleeping. But I mean, like it makes drastic changes.
The most beautiful, physically looking human and the healthiest on the inside.
Well, I'd like to speak to that if I can.
Yeah, you are the perfect human. Like, I'm so jealous.
I personally don't believe that I'm the pinnacle of perfection, but
this goes to show that not all health practices are for everyone, because you do not need to mouth tape, because you have the most perfect nose breathing I've ever seen. Even like,
what was it I heard several weeks ago, that I was snoring with my mouth closed?
Yeah, I don't know how you did it.
I've never heard of that as being a thing.
I've never heard of that, because I did used to snore sometimes here and there, and ever since I've mouth taped, you told me I never snored again.
I've only snored like recently, really, like when I'm hammered.
Yeah.
And that's not really a thing anymore.
But you know what's crazy? Like when I used to,
that's the only time I used to hear about it is like, you went to sleep hammered. That's why you were snoring last night.
But when I used to go to sleep like so drunk, I would wake up with my mouth wide open, drool, and you sleep terribly. Yeah. But you
whole side of your head
would go to sleep hammered. And once I started mouth taping, I would like look and be like, his mouth is for sure open. Sure enough, it's locked shut. Yeah. Your nose breathing, even when you were like blacked out drunk. So crazy. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
If my mom's listening, I've never blacked out in my life.
But how did you train yourself?
Okay, so I feel like you know the story. That's why you're asking me that question. I don't remember where I heard it.
No, I heard the same thing, but it didn't work on me. It worked on you.
Well, it's an interesting thing. I'm sure we've all heard it at some point. I don't remember where exactly I heard it, but I remember hearing it at a very young age, like very young, 4, 5, 6 years old. This is like one of my earliest memories that over the course of a year, I don't remember the number, but
I think it's 10.
It's something. It was enough to scare me.
You swallow 10 spiders.
Yeah, it was something crazy.
Everyone's heard that.
You eat 10 spiders in your sleep. You eat 15 ants a year. Whatever. Like they told you 3 or 4 different bugs, and of course, us humans are really, for the most part, unless you're nuts, you don't like bugs crawling in your mouth. And I mean, unless you're trying to audition for Fear Factor, which is off the air. But yeah, I don't know. It just, for some reason, it stuck with me. And I don't remember making like a conscious effort of like, well, I have to sleep with my mouth closed. I remember hearing that and be like, well, let's just make sure I sleep on my side. So like there's pressure on my jaw. So I remember thinking that at like I don't remember the exact age, but I was very young. Of just like, well, I just, if I sleep on my back, then obviously my mouth's going to fall open. If I sleep on my face, it kind of hurts my stomach and my chest and my back. So let's not do that. Let's just sleep on the side and just in a way that, make sure my jaw doesn't open. And for whatever reason, it just stuck until like I never thought about it after that until this whole deal. Once we were together for a period of time and you were talking about how they were wanting to do some reconstructive surgery on your jaw, and then this whole mouth tape thing came up and we were talking about that, and then it was like hearing all this stuff about mouth breathing versus sleeping with your mouth closed, and I was like, well, shit, man, I could maybe reconfigure my jaw and look a little bit better. I could, do what, whatever it is to be healthier. And here I am. Like, you've seen me sleep several times.
You nose breathe.
And I guess I nose breathe.
But
so one thing that I've noticed is there are several occasions that, I mean, now I'm pretty much dialed, but there are several occasions that I was in the beginning of our relationship when I was still a problem, just beyond intoxicated. And there were times that I woke up with my mouth open and I could tell the difference in how I slept. And I've heard this several times on other podcasts or just even talking to coworkers or, people out there on the street, not interviewing like this, but, just chatting with people. It, like, most people don't notice it. Like, it's not like you wake up and you're just in a puddle of drool and, your mouth's open. I got a spider in my mouth. It's more so like you wake up feeling like you haven't slept.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is a life hack. Like, say you're not into wellness at all, which I don't know why you're listening to this because that's what we're talking about. But like when I first started mouth taping, I would still like get crazy drunk and black out. And you were the sweetest boyfriend at the time. And you would always make me put my mouth tape on, even when I would be like, I don't want to. And so the times where I would like fight you and be like, no, and just pass out, I would wake up like 2 hours later, tossing, turning, mouth open. And I would wake up feeling like so exhausted, slightly hungover, like horrible. But the nights, like even when I went to sleep like hammered and you made me mouth tape, I woke up and I like felt fine. Yeah. Even if I drank the same amount. Like, you get just deep sleep when you breathe through your nose. Yeah. It's crazy.
That's what I've noticed. Like, everybody loves to talk about like, all the different cycles of sleep and everything. And, if you go to sleep sober versus blacked out versus after 2 beers or nothing for 7 days, whatever it is, I don't have dreams if I drink at all, whatever. Like, I guess I've just been so accustomed to breathing through my nose that I can go to sleep, and I'm not bragging here, so don't, take it as that.
Some things you have down, some things that you are working on, I have down.
We're all trying to get better here. That's the whole point of this. But
you do have
because of the fact that I've made such a habit, I guess, I mean, intentionally, but like I really didn't sit around to see if I was doing it. It just like, whatever, made a habit of doing it, I guess. I've never had an issue getting to like that REM cycle sleep. I've never had an issue getting there, and I credit a lot of that to nose breathing versus mouth breathing. And I nowadays, hearing about it so much, like I said, it's a sponsor of the UFC now. It's
massive. Like,
it's a major thing now. I didn't realize there were this many mouth breathers out there.
I believe it's.
I didn't realize it was this common. I'm not shaming you guys.
The Skinny Confidential dropped like pink mouth tape, and she made it big. And I actually did first ever hear about it from her years ago, like at least a year before she dropped.
What, you thought it was insane?
No, I was like, because she talked about she had the jaw surgery. That's why I was like, oh my God, that's what they say I need to get. And so then she said she's mouth taping, and she was saying, I think that I wouldn't have had to have the surgery if I always mouth tape. So I was like, that's it, all I need to hear. I'm going to start doing this. And this was at least a year before she ever dropped her own line of mouth tape. But now that it's out, it popped off.
I would like to.
Everyone's talking about it.
Has she like addressed it before? If she would like undo that and try the mouth tape first?
Yeah. Because she got the surgery, I think, when she was like in her early 20s, and she was saying,
obviously before anyone really.
She was saying if she knew about this and mouth tape like her whole life, like she would have never needed that.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I think too. And she said there, like, obviously I don't know, but I do think I can reverse some of it and like improve my situation with mouth taping.
You can. That's the one thing that people
not having surgery.
There's a lot of scare tactics out there, and I'm not by any means a doctor or a scientist or anything, but when it comes to your health, at any point, if you change your habits, no matter what it is, if it's something as simple as putting mouth tape on to try to breathe through your nose instead of waiting until you're 70 years old to put a sleep apnea mask on and have a machine next to your bed.
And then you're on your deathbed.
And then by that point, it's too late. I don't think if you're 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, even 45 or 50, it's never too late to change your habits and start making changes that will prolong your life. And even if it doesn't, I mean, of course, we can all get hit by a bus tomorrow. I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy, but like there's changes you can make to make your life more quality. And even if as simple as waking up in the morning and feeling like you actually got 7, 8, 10 hours of sleep, actually feeling that instead of waking up feeling all congested and like you only slept 4 hours and, you know, it was all kind of a fog and I woke up 4 times last night. It's like, I mean, my dad to this day still mouth breathes. He's been snoring since probably he was 7 years old. And I love my dad. I wish him the best, but he's tried everything. He's tried all this, you know, sleep in here, sleep on the floor, sleep on your back, sleep on your side, sleep in the attic, sleep in the car, whatever it is. He's tried all this stuff except for mouth tape. So actually we should probably call him after this and send him some mouth tape.
My dad, I'm laughing because we're bringing up our dads. I've told my dad all about this. And
shout out to Ron and Dave.
He claims like he can't do it because his nose or something's messed up and
a deviated septum. I have one too.
He can't
right here.
Do it,
I can't breathe out of this side of my nose.
He thinks like he always like makes fun of me. He's like, do 100 burpees and still breathe through your nose. You can't do it. You can't do it. And I'm like, well, I don't do 100 burpees anyways. So I do try to breathe through my nose even when I'm working out. Fly to the moon. See if you can breathe
through your nose. Like, it's not a challenge. It's you need to do this. Try it out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yes.
It's not about like we'll try to live my life and do it my way and see if that works out for you. It's not about that.
Yeah.
And I love Dave. I'm not, you know.
No, but that's the thing. It worked well for me. It worked wonders. It's changed my sleep for sure. I hope it changes my jaw, but who knows?
From what I've heard, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I can't speak much more to it because.
But I know significantly it changed my sleep, and that changes
that's
every
the most important
aspect
thing.
of health. Yeah.
That is the most important thing.
I feel way better. So that's mine. Now you go.
We can do a whole podcast about mouth tape. And I don't even use mouth tape. I can speak to this for a while.
What is a wellness practice that has changed your life?
Intermittent fasting.
Okay. Tell me why.
But here's the thing that I want to make clear to anybody who's listening that might perk up a little bit and be a little bit curious. I'm not talking like intentional. I'm going to make a plan to fast from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
You don't
Monday,
have
Wednesday,
hours.
Friday.
Like you only eat from these hours to these hours. You don't do that.
I don't do it specifically based. I don't schedule any of it out. Everything I do is not really traditional. It's all based on how I feel, which also ties into my next deal on there.
That's the number one thing.
It's all based on how I feel because at the end of the day, something that I think applies to everybody that a lot of people unfortunately overlook is your mind is the powerhouse of your body. If your mind doesn't believe that what you're doing is beneficial, then it's not going to be beneficial. Or if your mind believes that what you're doing is just to, you know, get this task done, it's not going to reap the benefits of the task you're doing. You're just going to do it to get it done, and that will give you some accomplishment. But you're not going to benefit from it. So my two main things on there is, working out, going to the gym, and the other thing is intermittent fasting. And both of those I don't do like most people do. for me, I work a job that requires early mornings and a lot of times late nights, all in one schedule, not, you know, splitting it up. Um, and over the years, I've noticed that what makes me feel best and perform my best and feel my best from start to finish is physically working hard and intentionally not consuming anything. Whereas a lot of people I work with, you know, some guys are bringing lunches, some guys are snacking throughout the day, some guys are running off to a gas station to get something to eat, whatever it is. I I don't do that. I set out in the beginning of the day. I might go to the gym early in the morning, and have a bagel with cream cheese or, you know, whatever it may be, and I don't eat anything until I get home. And I've noticed that it makes me feel better.
But you have to say your hours, because when you have a bagel, which is my homemade sourdough bagel, it is at 3 a.m. when you go to the gym at 3 a.m. Latest would be like 4 a.m. And then you don't eat again until you get home around 4.
4 or 5,
from
6,
work.
whatever.
So that's a 12-hour fast. Because I'm saying, like, people are, like, confused because people think fasting is, like, you wake up and you don't eat until noon. But you're saying you wake up. If you go to the gym, you always eat something.
Yeah, I mean, most people have to afterwards. I mean,
I don't. But I don't go to. I'll get to mine.
Yeah.
I don't go to the gym anymore. But I used to always do fasted workouts. But you don't.
I mean, everybody's body's different. You gotta do what's best for you.
But you don't eat anything at work, and if you don't go to the gym, from my knowledge, you don't. You wake up, go to work, and you don't eat until you get home, which could be like 16 hours.
Yeah, I that's what I do most days. I've just noticed that mentally and physically, I'm less productive if I'm, no matter what I bring to work. It could be the healthiest meal ever, or it could be, I've never partaken, but it could be a gas station hot dog. And no matter what it is, it doesn't benefit me at all. So it's always in my best interest to not eat anything. At best, if I don't go to the gym, I get up and eat a piece of sourdough with butter, and I go to work at 3 a.m, and I don't get back until 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night, and then I come home and eat whatever we make for dinner.
Yeah.
And that's what works best for me. But I don't do, I don't know. I think a lot of people's issues, to speak to, like, the regimented stuff that a lot of people do. It's like they get caught in this habit, and once again, to each their own. I'm not sitting here saying that if someone does different than what I'm saying, that you're doing it wrong.
And
this is not benefit.
I different. I do not do your eating schedule.
Yeah, this is not. We're not here agreeing on all of these. Some of them we might. Some of them we might not. But I'm also here to say that if someone disagrees with me, I'm not saying what you do is wrong. If it works for you, it works for you. I'm just trying to, obviously this is my show and your show. So I'm sharing my deal. And if someone is curious and you want to try something different out, maybe this is the right thing for you. One thing that throws me off is being extremely regimented. Since I got into the workforce and got out there in the world and, became an adult and started, building a life, I've never really caved to the scheduled, regimented things. I've never had a job or, a career, I guess you can call it, that allowed for that. I never put myself in that position. I could never do that. I'm not the kind of person that is a 9 a.m. every day at this location to 5 p.m. I'm just not that person. I have varying hours. I enjoy that. I know a lot of people don't. A lot of people might not like that. I have varying hours. I work days, nights, sometimes weekends, whatever it is. So that's allowed for me to kind of tweak and change my personal health schedule. And so what works for me is, not scheduling. I'm going to not work from this time to this time. I'm going to not eat from this time to this time, whatever it is. And someone might take that and benefit from it.
I think that's the best thing. There shouldn't be strict schedules though. But what you're saying is your body really thrives from having like long hours from not consuming, because you feel like clearer and lighter and you could think better. You are more energized.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are really stuck in like, I have to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner and 2 snacks. Like a lot of people are like that. I think though, like what's important is to not be so stuck on like eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you don't feel good, like just only eating when you're like, it feels like my body needs this nourishment, and then it's going to help me feel energized.
Yeah. A lot of people are, and we've all been there, of, you're trained that, you in the morning you got to eat a meal, in the afternoon you got to eat a meal, at this time you got to eat a dinner, and then you got to go to sleep. Whatever it is, a lot of people are trained to, it's Saturday night, or it's Friday night, it's whatever it is, you got to drink. It's Cinco de Mayo, you got to get fucked up. No, you don't. You don't have to do any of these things.
And I also think though, like depending on your job, it changes. Because when I was a teacher, I could fast all morning and then eat like a little oatmeal or something at lunch. But now that I work from home, I cannot do that. And I prefer to eat breakfast and like an early lunch, dinner, and then like stop eating at 3 p.m. And that's like, that's a fast. Like if you don't eat from 3 p.m. to 7 a.m., that's a fast. Yeah. So I don't do that every day, but I do that pretty often. Like I would say I do that like 2 days a week.
Yeah.
So, and also there's a big thing of like women's hormones don't do that great with fasting. But I honestly do feel incredible those days where I stop eating at 3 p.m. I ate my breakfast at 7. I ate my dinner at 3. And then I didn't eat till 7 the next day. Like, I feel so good. Yeah. But I don't do that every day.
And that doesn't work for everybody, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Some people, might not agree with that, and it's to each their own.
Yeah.
But if they made it this far, they're at least slightly curious.
Okay. My next wellness practice that changed my life is reading You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. It's a book. And you know this book. Yeah. And this is a wellness practice because this book is something that I am constantly referencing to this day. Every time we get the slightest like sign of like we might be getting sick, we both are like, we got to look up in the book, what does this mean? This book, like when I read it for the first time, it's the first time I ever realized like I don't need to run to my doctor every single time I get a sore throat, an earache, every single time like the slightest thing, like yeast infections, bladder infections. Like I used to get
right into it,
I used to get those, and I would go to the doctor and get antibiotics. And it's like you don't even try to think like, what is my body trying to tell me? Like, what is wrong? Like, why is this happening? All you do is like, no, I got to go to the doctor. And like now it's like the hack and the change of like no longer running to the doctor to fix things when they will never fix things. They'll just cover up your symptoms and give you other problems as side effects. Yeah. And so this book teaches you that basically you are in control and you're creating all of your experiences. So every time your body is out of balance, it's trying to tell you something. It's trying to tell you what is wrong. And it's up to you to take that information and make the change versus covering it up with like a momentary numb, I guess.
Well, because what the medicine does is it just fixes the symptom. Mm-hmm. It doesn't address the problem at all. So, yeah, I agree. A lot of that does boil down to, once again, back to mindset. Back to a lot of lifestyle changes and mindset changes, whether it's about yourself or situations you're in, that could be causing a lot of that.
Yeah.
And running to a doctor, I mean, the pharmaceutical industry, all it does is, like I said, fix the symptom, not the problem.
But I think it's such a mindset shift reading this book. It changed my entire health, because it changes, like, now, like, if I have a cough, instead of being like, ignore it or waiting till it gets so bad that I have to go to the doctor or like anything like that.
Yeah.
It's like the second there's a sign of like, why am I coughing? Like I've been like I got to look it up in the book, and then you take that information of like and figuring out like how can I get to the root of this problem and heal it. And every time, like, we've had proof of it working, and that's why like I go to that every time. Like, I know you've had like things where you've been like, basically if you would have went to the doctor, they would have told you had like an ear infection.
That was the last one I remember.
Yeah, I think that was the most recent one. They would have definitely told you had an ear infection and take these antibiotics, but instead you were like, what does it say in the book is the cause of earache?
And it had something to do with like anger or something like that.
Anger, not being willing to listen to or not wanting to hear what others have to say. And that's the
problem. As soon as you read that to me, I knew exactly what situation it was.
That's what I'm saying.
A particular person, obviously not you, but it was a particular person, and I knew exactly what it was right away. And I was like, okay, no, I know that. Boom.
But then what happened? Like less than 24 hours later, was your ear gone?
Yeah, because it lasted for like 4 days.
Yeah, it was 4 days before you came to me and
finally
said,
I was like, okay, this has been a problem for several days. What's the deal here? What's it say? And it was crazy because I knew for the last 4 or 5 days I had been very angry and unwilling to listen to this person. I was tired of the bullshit that was coming out of their mouth. And yeah, it just helped me kind of just let it go. Just like not let it affect me. Or just like, it doesn't matter. They're not keeping me from being happy. They're not keeping me from being successful in life. They're not holding me down. It's like, why do I care about what their opinion is, what their view on life is? And as soon as I was able to let that go, within less than 24 hours, it was gone.
Wild.
That was the last one I remember.
And what normally would happen is you go to the doctor, take antibiotics, it kills all your gut microbiome, and then you're all fucked up because your gut is now wiped out.
Yeah.
That causes so many other problems. The thing with this book is I read it a while ago, and you have to like read it once and then like put it into practice. But doing that changed everything for me. I've never gone to the doctor since, which I'm not promoting. Never go to the doctor. Like, do what you need to do.
If your arm's snapped in half, you should probably go to the doctor.
But like, don't lean on that, because I have
every time your eye itches, you might not need to seek professional care.
I used to go to the doctor. My parents would laugh at me when I was in college that I would go every single week because I had free free care. And I would, because every little thing I would go every single week, and I would always be given antibiotics, and that really ruined
toenail.
me. It ruined me.
Here you go. Like, here's some Percocets.
It made it was such a negative impact on my health. And
a lot of people do that monthly. They go in there for their checkups to like, your weight's up about 3 pounds. Hey, you should slow down on whatever it is. It's like,
and then it gets that negativity in your head of like, oh my God, oh no, like, and like once you get into that spiral,
ooh, a tumor's on its way. Ooh,
you get into that spiral, and then that's all you can fixate on. Versus what we do by reading this book and referencing this book, it's like, what am I doing that is putting me out of balance?
Once again, it circles back to your mind is the powerhouse of it's the engine of your body. It is what controls everything. And if your mind is off in la la land thinking about whatever it is, you're hung up on some situation, or whether it's past, present, future, whatever it is, it's going to start to show symptoms in your physical body.
Yes.
And like I said, the problem is you go to a doctor not saying you should never go to a doctor, but you go to a doctor to address this ankle pain you have, and they just give you a pill to address your ankle pain, and it'll take it away. Sure, but you didn't fix the real problem going on in your life.
So then months later, a new problem comes up because your body is going to force you to rest and have the time.
Oh, I've been having this ankle pain every December. It just pops up. It's like every year, this, whatever it is.
It's like we create all these things. I have
You're just numbing the
loved
pain.
One that like was complaining constantly about their job. I hate my job nonstop. And I kept trying to be like, what are you going to do about it? Look for a new job. And they refuse. Like, I just hate my job. Stuck in it. Next thing you know, they fall, break their leg so bad that it requires a crazy surgery. And I honestly believe that happens because your body is going to create a way that is going to force you to rest. If you're not listening to, like, if you start to get a little bit sick and you ignore it and you're like, I'm going to power through, block this out, your body's going to eventually force you to rest and listen to what's wrong. It's going to make you. And
because your mind doesn't care necessarily about how it happens. Your mind just listens to the fact that that's what you want. That's what you're telling your mind you want. You're telling your mind, because you're in control. I want to break. I'm done.
I want to break.
That's you taking a little bit of control of your mind, saying, I want to break. I'm done. I'm tired of this. I need a way. But you're not doing the physical actions to do anything. You're not thinking of a way to do it.
You're not thinking, I want to break my leg, have all this terrible, painful
your mind
surgery.
is going to jump in there and be like, well, since you're not taking the reins, I'm going to take the reins.
Yeah.
You're not going to die because of this. I'm not going to, go get you killed.
But we're going to force you to rest and give you a break.
You want to rest? Let's go ahead. Can I tell you another story?
Yeah.
Along those lines. Not that long ago, a coworker of mine, I work with heavy equipment, and this guy had been telling me the week prior to the incident that he'd had a daughter like 5-6 months prior, and he loved his job. He still loves his job. He still works with us. He's a great guy. But he'd worked with us before he had his daughter, and he was just super psyched on the job. Loves everything about it. Just getting really involved, really happy to be there, excited to go anywhere the paycheck took him. He'll go to the moon if he's getting a paycheck. As soon as he had his daughter, he started to change his mind. He's like, I want to be home. I want to be home. Well, the way I would look at that now is like, well, I got to start making changes in my professional life. Okay, so I want to adjust this. I want to be home. Maybe I want to change my career. Maybe I want to do this. Well, instead, like most people would, I'm not calling you a bad person.
They just complain.
You just complain. There. Exactly. You complain and you just, I want out of this. I don't want here right now. I want to be at home with my kid. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you're not making the necessary changes. You're just talking about it. You're just talking about it. Not a week after he told me about this, like for 2 days straight, complaining about, I'm happy to be here, but I just want to go home. This sucks. He gets his foot ran over, and he's been off work for several weeks now. He's at home with his daughter, but he can barely walk around. So, I mean, that kind of goes to show, like, you are in control of your mind. You are in control of what happens to you. You're in control of your own narrative. It's just how you choose to control the narrative.
That's why this book is so important. It changed everything for me because it showed me, like, the second I have the slightest symptom of, like, am I about to get a sore throat? Like, I feel weird. Yeah. I go to it and I'm like, okay, what am I doing? What's wrong? Yeah. Body, like, what are you trying to tell me? What's off? What's out of balance? Let me get back.
9 times out of 10, you know exactly what it is.
I've not been actually sick in 2 years since I've read this book. Because I catch it. Like, I think I've had, like, a little sore throat, and then I catch it and heal it. Like, I've not been, like, sick to where, like, I need to take a day to lay down. I'm pretty sure in 2 years. And that's, like, when I learned about all of this.
Yeah.
Because now I can catch it and look it up and take the time, like maybe journal on it or go on a walk and be like, what is wrong? Like, why is my body telling me this? Like, what is happening that's out of balance, and how can I get back to feeling good?
Well, because if not, if you're just one of those people that's, saying, I'm stressed out, I'm tired of work, I want time off, all you're doing is
manifesting time off.
You remember
by an injury.
Essentially, yeah. But you remember like Mad Libs?
Yeah.
That's essentially like kind of like what you're handing your brain. Is you're handing your brain like an outline of what you want to happen, and your brain just fills in the blanks.
Yeah. Your brain's like, that'll do that.
Well, if you're not going to take action, you're not going to do something about it physically with your body. You're not going to start making phone calls. You're not going to start educating yourself. You're not going to start changing your eating habits. You're not going to start changing who you talk to, where you go, how you sleep, whatever it is. If you don't take physical action, essentially your brain will take action for you. And unfortunately, it comes across in most of the time physical ailments.
Yeah, it
comes across in like all your mind knows is you want time off of work. It doesn't give a shit how that happens.
I guess break now you're going to come down with disease,
a broken foot, and you're off for 3 weeks.
Like all the things. It's just dis-ease. Yeah. You're out of balance, out of
harmony.
And
this also goes to show that you have to be intentional and manifest what you want. You can't just think in your head, I want more time at home with my wife. Oh. You can't just think that. You have to be able to decide how you're going to do that. You have to take control of, I'm going to make these steps. I'm going to do this, do that to make this happen.
Yeah, because this is my goal.
You can't just think for weeks on end, I just hate my job. I want more time at home with my wife. Because believe it or not, it's going to fucking happen.
Yeah.
It might not be how you want it to happen, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You might be laying at home in a fucking gurney because you have a broken femur, but hey, you're at home with your wife. That's all your mind takes in.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I mean, a lot of people might take offense to that, but that's reality.
Anyways, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. It's a must
Someone's going to crawl through the screen and choke me the fuck out. So we got to move on to the next one.
The last one that I'll share now, a wellness practice that changed my life, is meditative movement instead of like exercise that is stressful.
What do you mean by exercise that is stressful?
Well, I always like had the idea that like you have to work out as much as you can and burn all these calories, and you better go hard, and you better sweat like crazy, and you better never stop, or else you're gonna get fat, and you can't be a fit person unless if you go hard, and people are screaming at you and like you're in a stress state the whole time. A trainer's yelling at you, or your brain is yelling at yourself, and you're just like, I have to do this. I have to run these miles. I have to go crazy in the gym, or else I'm going to not be fit. I'm going to be fat. I'm going to like all these things. And coming at it from that stress state, when I was in that, like I could never relax. My nervous system like held on to like this stress state, and like I was never able to like rest and digest and relax. And because I grew up always working out as a competitive gymnast, when I became an adult, I would just I thought I had to continue that like extreme conditioning. So I would go to the gym sometimes 3 times a day. Like I would wake up, go to the gym, midday I would go to the gym in the morning, then I would go to work all day, then I would go to the gym after work, then I would come home and run on the treadmill. Like I would do all these crazy workouts, and I felt like no matter what I did, it was never enough. Like I kept on gaining weight, I kept on not being as skinny as I wanted to be, and I was always so stressed out about it that I would like lose sleep because of it. And then we know if you're not sleeping well, you're gonna gain weight. And then because I was like so stressed out, like my body like gripped on to like every bit of food that I ate. Like I was always like super bloated, and anxious and in just such a bad place. But what I've not recently, I guess probably 3 years ago, I started with doing yoga. And that was the first time where like I felt like I incorporated like breathing while I moved, where like I synced up, like I breathe in when I move this way, breathe out when I move this way, and like having that conscious breath work while you're moving. Yeah. It like brought me into my body, and the second I like felt that, it felt so amazing and so much healthier. And I just knew like this is way healthier than what I've been doing, even though I'm not dripping sweat when I'm done. I'm not out of breath, but like I just knew. And so once I started doing that, I canceled all my gym memberships, focused on yoga and walking. I literally lost like 15 pounds. I've never struggled with like weight gain ever since. And so now it's like I focus on moving all day, but like incorporating breath work and deep breathing while I move. I do like ballet bar, so I can like really like feel the flow. Yeah. And I never do like gym sessions. I don't go to the gym anymore because I get very anxious when I go to the gym, and that's not good for digestion or losing weight. Like I'm not trying to lose weight anymore, but it's not good for like my health to be in those type of settings.
Yeah, no.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of this ties into health trends I can't get behind, so I don't want to get too far off the rails. But I mean, once again, each one of these things that we've named and what we'll name going forward, it's not for everybody, and that's fine. Even me, just recently, I just started going to the gym. Whereas for you, that was your entire life. For me, I've tried it out in the past. I tried it out when I was freshly out of high school. I had a cousin of mine, shout out Clayton. I have no hatred for him, but he saw a direction that I was going in my life, and at the time he was not wrong. It was not a good direction. So he was trying to help me out and keep me on a healthy course. And I did try. I genuinely tried for a little bit, but he's a big guy. He's the same height as me, but I don't want to sit here and throw weights around, but he got a solid 80, 100 pounds on me. He's fit, but he's a big guy. So when he goes to the gym, he's serious in the gym, and it works for him. He's been in the gym. I remember him and his cousin on the other side of his family, boxing each other for like events and stuff. He's a fit guy. He's a big guy. He goes elk hunting, bear hunting. He's an archer. He doesn't go out there with a rifle. He's the man. He's awesome. Very fit, very active guy. And he tried to get me on the same page, and I genuinely tried for a little bit, but the regiment that he did and that I saw that most people were doing, it just didn't work for me. There were several times that we would go there 3-4 days a week. Doesn't sound like a lot to some people, but for me, when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, going to the gym at 4 a.m. is absurd. And before work too.
The worst thing I think that you told me about is that you would throw up.
I was getting there, but yeah, that's essentially what I would do. I would get up.
That's the worst thing. That's so unhealthy. That's a sign that from your body that you're not supposed to be doing that.
Yeah, and I had heard several different things about, well, it means this, it means you got oxygen in your blood and it's going to the wrong place, all kinds of whatever dumb shit that's, no, I hate the scientists, but whatever dumb shit that was out there in studies about your body does this and reacts this way. And I tried all this different stuff. I tried all these different supplements and trying this before and this after. Come to find out, in all reality, it didn't fucking work for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't want people to misconstrue anything that I've said you should do or shouldn't do. Everybody's different. If it doesn't work for you,
the stressful, go as hard as you can every second, that type of workout.
I learned pretty quick.
That doesn't work for me either.
I learned very quickly though. I learned within 6 months, this doesn't work for me. I made up whatever dumb excuse I could to him, and then at the time was when I changed jobs and moved away and did all this stuff. And so, I kind of tapped out of that a little bit. And I never went back. And I remember several guys I worked with, one of them being a good friend of mine. He tried to get me back into it. He tried to get me back into the whole working out deal. And maybe this time we try steroids. Maybe we do this. And I wasn't necessarily like scarred, like I don't want to paint myself like I was a victim or something. But I had learned from it. I learned like, this is not what's best for me. I don't feel good doing it. I don't care what the benefit is. I don't need to see an 18 pack on my stomach. I don't care. I know I'm healthy. I'm fine. And whatever comes from it, that's on me. That's not on you. It's not for me. And I stayed away from it for a long time. And then once I had met you, you were still in the point where you were kind of crazy with it.
Crazy. Because, see, the difference from you and me is from age 6 years old, I started competitive gymnastics where there's a hardcore conditioning.
Yeah.
I'm like doing 20 pull-ups. I had like a 6-pack. Like all I have ever known is hardcore conditioning, and you have to do that. And in gymnastics, there's a lot of fear tactics at play because they don't want you to quit because it's such a hardcore sport. So I was told, like, look at all these girls that quit gymnastics, they get fat. If you quit, you're going to get fat. So basically I took that as like, if I don't work out this crazy hard for the rest of my life, I'm going to get fat. And like, that was such a fear for me. And so I did that like forever. And then also I got it at home. Like my parents and my brothers, like, were all that way of like hardcore, like intense, competitive, work out hard, we would go to boot camp workouts all the time. And it was always a stressful.
So it got kind of ingrained in you.
Completely ingrained. And so it wasn't until I was out of college, 23 years old, where the first time in my entire life, I like felt a movement practice that like I felt safe doing. I didn't feel like I'm running for my life. Like I didn't feel like I'm in danger. I didn't feel like I have to do this now or else like you're going to be ugly and fat and no one's ever going to love you. Like those type of like crazy deep rooted things like were not there. It was all about like just being like a beautiful moving human that like you feel life moving through you like as you're breathing, and like that like euphoric spiritual aspect, it was so calming, and it brought me like into that, like it eased my nervous system in a way where I felt relaxed. I think for probably the first time where I intentionally was like, I'm doing this to feel good and be feeling safe and relaxed. And once I started doing that, that's when I lost all the weight that I used to like punish myself for having. Not from the punishment, not from the hard work, from doing less and like feeling good. That's when like my body started responding the way that I always wanted it to.
Yeah. That's crazy because like, like, I don't know, my entire life, my viewpoint was like, I used to always get called skinny and this and that. I never gave a shit at all. Like I was always just, my viewpoint of the world is like, this is who I am. If you don't like me for who I am, then you can go fuck yourself. And then I got to a point where like, okay, maybe I should try to do something to change the physical course of this thing.
Got to.
And then I was just like, oh, well, maybe I am, not accountable for my actions. I need to start doing something healthy. And I tried that whole boot camp kind of mentality, and I learned very quickly. It's like, no, this is not it.
Because you would like throw up every single time.
Every single time.
That's every so
single. I would come home, throw up, eat, go to work. It's like, this is not it. This is not it at all. And I remember it was my mom that told me, because at the time it was I was 18, 19. No, I moved out at 19, so I was 18. And I remember like it was 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I came home, I think it was on a Wednesday, and I came home and I went to get in the shower, and most of the time I had like turned the shower on, got in there, and then my mom had gotten up. She would get up to start her day around the same time, and she would see me every morning. Like, we'd kind of pass each other within 15 minutes. And this one morning, it just really got to me before I was able to turn the shower on. And unfortunately for me, but I guess kind of fortunately for me, she heard me in there throwing up. And she's like, "Did you just get back from the gym?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, I don't want you doing this anymore. Like, this cannot be healthy. "No, what are you talking about? No, I'm going to the gym. I'm getting up early. I'm not drinking. I'm doing this and that." I was making all these excuses. And she's like, "I don't care. There's no way that whatever you're doing, that you're throwing up after you're doing it, this is healthy." Mm-mm. And she was like telling me this. It's like she's like, "I'm not like the most fitness oriented person in the world. I'm not the healthiest person in the world. But there's no way you can tell me, honestly, that whatever you've been doing for the last hour and a half is healthy if you do it for an hour and a half and you throw up afterwards."
Every single time. Every
fucking time. And that was when I was like, as a dumb 18-year-old, I was like, "Yeah, maybe you're right. Actually, yeah." Because I get up, I don't really feel that good. I go there, I sweat, and someone tells me I'm doing all right. Then I get home and I feel like shit, and then I throw up, and I go to work the rest of the day trying to play catch up, trying to get my nutrients back. Yeah, maybe, yeah, this boot camp bullshit is not it.
That's such the point of like taking on other people's regimens is never going to work. And then also running from yourself, hiding from yourself,
like denying
reality and not feeling safe to like be in your own body and feeling good within yourself, and having that initiative to be like, I know what's best for me. This feels good for me. Knowing what feels good for you. That's what I didn't ever know, because all I ever knew was the crazy workouts that I hated, but I knew I had to do, or else like something horrible.
Yeah, mine was the opposite. Over. Yeah, mine was I was feeling good, and there was like someone pretty much scammed me into thinking that I needed to do something different. So I did something different, and I realized like, no, I was right the whole fucking time. I was right doing my own thing.
Because you now have implemented things
that work. I've evolved and changed to what works for me.
Exactly. And that's
what it's all about is, once again, back to, we all have to make decisions that are best physically, mentally for us.
Yeah.
You can't just pick up what Joe Rogan says and just copy and paste. And if he's doing what's best for him, it might not work for you.
I get that like building muscle is really good for health and longevity, but there's not one way. Like, you don't have to do it the way that these people say. Like, I learned that even though everything I've ever known is like hardcore HIIT, high intensity, boot camp, crazy conditioning, that doesn't have to be the only way to like be healthy and active and build muscle too. Like yoga, ballet, walking, hills, hiking.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
David Goggins might be able to run from Kansas to Florida and it works for him. It might not work for you.
When I used to go on runs every day. Last thing on this.
Last thing, because we're going to start sliding into the trends that don't work for us. Yeah.
I used to have so much anxiety about, because I didn't like anyone to see me sweating, because I was so scared that like, oh my God, a boy will see me and I look ugly. So I would be...
I used to be worried about the same thing.
I would have so much anxiety of going to the gym, but I would also knew like, also you have to go to the gym and you have to go on like long runs. So I would wake up before the sun would rise around my college campus and sprint as fast as I could get to college all around until I hit 3 miles and sprint back. But since the sun was like about to rise, like no one would be awake. But if I like caught, like there was someone, even like
janitor,
someone was awake and someone saw me running, I would literally, my heart would be like boom, 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 boom. And I would just start sprinting as if like someone's chasing me. And I'm like running for my life, trying to make sure no one sees me. Like the stress that I was in, just to like, I have to get to 3 miles and get home before anyone sees me. And I have to do this now. And then I'm going to go to the spin class after. But like no one could see. It's like that stress was so gnarly that like I can't believe I would do that after like a whole night of drinking, sleeping 2 hours. Like I would get home from the bars at 2 a.m., wake up at 4 a.m., do that crazy run, panic attack to like do it, get it done, and then go home and drive to the gym. Like craziness. Like when you're in that type of state, that sympathetic state, you cannot be healthy because your body is so gripped and so like tense, it cannot perform the way that it's like meant to.
Cult like brainwash, pretty much.
My brain was so wild. I was like in a place, and
that's not something you see on a YouTube video and you're like, oh, I want to do that.
I put myself in like a prison mentally, and I don't even know why.
Well, we are very dangerously close to slipping into the back half of this.
Let's move on. I have more things that I would love to share, but let's move on to, we've shared things that have changed our life for the better. Let's move into a new topic, because wellness on social media right now is out of control. There's so many trends. There's so many things. Basically, this thing we're talking about of like, you have to do this or you're not healthy. The exact like toxic conversation that we cannot get behind.
Yeah.
But because of that, there's so many trends out that we want to talk about, of wellness trends that we cannot get behind. We are not about it. Doesn't work for us. So
let's work for you, but I mean, you're listening to me and I'm going to give you my opinion.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
You want to get into it right now?
Do you want to hit it next time?
I think we should hit it next time because I have to go pee really bad.
Okay. Well, that's wellness that worked for us. Next week is wellness that I don't think is wellness. Can't get behind it.
Cannot be that well for you.
Wellness trends that maybe you shouldn't follow the trend, or figure out.
Per my recommendation. Maybe someone else would tell you otherwise, but.
Okay. We'll hit it next week.
Yeah.
Cheers. Have a good week. Love you guys.
Don't know if I love you yet.